When a woman is diagnosed with cancer, particularly breast cancer, she's faced with the possibility of losing her breast. And you know how women relate to their breasts, and we know how men relate to women's breasts. So if, for example, you are involved with a man who considers himself a breast man, a woman feels that she's in trouble more than if she has a bottom man. So it immediately begins to impact the sense to her that she might now start having trouble in her relationship. There are women who expose 9 yards of cleavage just to expose the fact that they're so feminine. It's not only losing a breast that we have to face, because many of us, after being diagnosed with cancer and a breast or a portion of your breast is removed, we may now be faced with having chemotherapy to treat the cancer. And that involves usually some form of hair loss, partial hair loss or total hair loss. When you look at a woman, what's the difference between a woman and a man? It is usually the hair, the length of the hair, the hairstyle, and the size of the breasts. So you really feel as if you're losing your womanhood. The third negative factor is that chemotherapy can actually affect the functions of your ovaries. So if you are not married or if you do not have children before the diagnosis, it may actually prevent you from having children after the diagnosis. These are serious issues for a woman. When my cancer diagnosis was made, and it was made late, 3 years after my breast lump occurred, after the cancer diagnosis was made, I realized I was going to have a problem. Because cancer spreads, and when cancer spreads, the possibility of you dying from the cancer is real. So I had to face cutting off the entire breast and long months of chemotherapy, which affected my ovaries, affected my hair, affected the way I looked. I had to really sit down and think about it carefully. What brought me through was the fact that I had 3 children and I had to put everything forward for them. When I discussed with my oncologist the fact that I might lose my hair with the treatment, and I said to him, is there any possibility, is there anything I can do to keep my hair? He said, well, he has patients who try to put elastic bands around their head to prevent the cancer from getting into the blood vessels that feed the hair, because the anti-cancer treatment is injected in the veins, and all the veins are connected. The second suggestion he had was to put ice pack on my head. Ice shrinks blood vessels. And I seriously considered doing one of those. So I was reaching for straws, and I got my elastic bands and I tied them up into a long elastic band, and I went for my first and second treatment, and it was great. Great enough because I already had a mastectomy. I had already cut off my breasts, and I was dealing with this, it's almost like a lopsided issue. But after my third treatment, the morning when I wake up and I looked in the mirror, and I did not feel that my hair was resting on my head, and I did this and the whole thing came off. I was totally bald. I had 1 breast. My ovaries were affected, and the chemotherapy had changed my skin color to black. I almost did not recognize myself. I had to remind myself why I was going through the treatment. And so I lived my life on a short-term basis, hour after hour, 4 hours, 8 hourly. When I made it after 4 hours and 8 hours, I said, maybe I can make it for 24 hours. My family kept encouraging me. Bob Marley's song, Don't Worry About a Thing, Every Little Thing Is Gonna Be All Right, that kept me going. Whitney Houston's song, Give Me One Moment in Time, where I can be more than I am at this moment, that kept me going. But once the treatment was over and I started to feel better, it gave me an ounce of hope.